Hello, this is Miss Poor, and this is lesson over geometric terms and concepts. The objectives in this lesson are to describe basic properties of points, lines, and planes, define and describe basic properties of line segments and rays, identify collinear and coplanar points, and identify the intersection of two lines or of two planes. In geometry, a point has no length, width, or depth. Even though we represent with a dot, the point has no length, width, or depth. Our dot can be very tiny or very large, and it still represents a point. And a point is usually named with a capital letter. In geometry, a line has no thickness, but its length extends in one dimension and goes on forever in both directions. There's your line. And a line, and unless otherwise stated, a line is drawn as a straight line with two arrowheads indicating that the line extends without end in both directions. And a line is just a collection of points. And here's an example. There's your collection of points. So we usually just put a couple arrows on the end of it to signify that it goes on indefinitely in both directions. And a line can be named by a single italic lowercase letter. In this example, the letter is L, or by any 2 points on the line, AB. In geometry, a plane has no thickness but extends indefinitely in all directions. Planes are usually represented by a shape that looks like a tabletop or a parallelogram. Even though the diagram of a plane has edges, you must remember that a plane has no boundaries. A plane is named by a single letter. In this example, it's plane Q, and that single letter is always in script or italics. Or you can name it by 3 non-collinear points. So in this figure, it's plane ABC. You just list the name of the points, and usually in alphabetical order. Two planes always intersect in a line as long as they are not parallel. So plane Q intersects plane R at line DC. And although it looks like a segment to us, we have to realize that these planes, although we see edges, they go on indefinitely forever. Therefore, the line DC is going on forever as well. Points on the same line are said to be collinear. So points A, B, and C are collinear. So in this, I was going to show you right quick. Here, A, B, and C are not collinear, just so you get an idea, because they aren't lying on the same line. Notice that point D is not on the line. Therefore, points A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D are not collinear, or we could also call it non-collinear. Points that lie on the same plane are said to be coplanar. Therefore, points A, B, and C are coplanar because they don't lie on a straight line or the same line. Notice that point D is floating out in space there. It is, if we were to think of it in correlation to the plane, we would think that it's above the plane. Therefore, points A, B, C, and D are not coplanar, and we can also say that's non-coplanar. A line extends forever in both directions. A ray is a part of a line. It has one endpoint and extends forever in one direction. The ray has an endpoint A and passes through point B. So this ray is called ray AB. This ray has an endpoint C and passes through point D. So this ray is called ray CD. An angle is a figure formed by two rays that do not lie on the same line, but they have a same endpoint. Now let's work through some examples. It says points E, F, and G and H are connected by segments as shown, and then you can see how they're connected, and we're going to go through and answer A through F. Alright, part A tells us to name 2 points in the figure. And you can use any 2 of the following points. You can use E, F, G, or H. And what you also need to know is that they always have to be capitalized. Part B says name the top segment of the figure. Well, you've always got to be sure to use your symbols when you're naming things like segments, lines, and rays, etc. So what we're going to do, and when you're naming a segment or a line, any letter can come first. Math people like for it to be in alphabetical order, and there's the segment symbol. Or you could name it GF. It doesn't matter which way you name it. Now part C says name the ray that starts, that's a key word because that is what tells us how to name the ray. Name the ray that starts at point G and passes through F. So since it starts at G, we're going to start out with G and then F. Now I know you don't see a ray in this picture, but you have to visualize it, and if you're not good at visualization, then make it a ray. See how I made it ray GF? I just put that little arrow on the end. Part D says name 2 rays that contain segment EH. Okay, so if I was to start my ray at H and have my crooked ray go through E, then my name would be ray HE. Now if I decided to go the other direction and start at E and go through H, then I would name my ray EH. Now you look at this picture and you say, how many angles are in this picture? Well, let's look. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. And then part F says name the intersection of segment GF and FE. Well, right here is GF and right here is FE. So that intersection, now remember, whenever 2 lines intersect, they intersect at a point. So this is going to be point F. Okay, here's another example. It says points A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H are corners of this cube. And they've got a lot of lines there that can make us confused, but we're not going to let it do that to us. We can answer these questions pretty easy. How many planes are illustrated? So if you need to, you could kind of draw this to where you're not seeing all that busyness. And I know cubes aren't the easiest thing to draw, but that gives you an idea. Alright, and you're saying how many planes does a cube have? Well, all you really have to do is think to yourself, okay, if I had a box, a closed box, how many sides does that box have? Well, it has the front, it has a back, it has a right side, let me draw an arrow, has a left side, it has a top, and then underneath is the bottom. So altogether, that's going to be 6 planes. Okay, so when it comes to things like rectangles and cubes, even triangles, pyramids, and things like that, you think, how many sides does this have? So you're going to count all the sides, and that's going to be your number of planes. It says, part B says, name the plane that forms the floor. Well, the floor is going to be your bottom. And we have our bottom points are A, B, C, and D. Now remember, you only need 3 points to name it. Since I like things in alphabetical order, I'm going to call this plane A, B, C. You could also, let me put a semicolon here, you could also name it plane C, D, B, because they don't have to be in alphabetical order. I just like them that way. D, A, B, and so on. You get the idea. Any combination of 3 letters. Name the plane that forms the left ball. I don't know where the ball is. The left wall. Okay, this is going to be my left side over here. Okay? So if I'm going to name that plane, and since I like alphabetical order, I'm going to name it A, B, E. But understand, you could use any combination of 3 letters. Okay, just make sure that they're capital letters. For instance, you could name it AEF, or you could name it BFE. Okay, name the intersection of segment AD and segment CD. So I'm going to look right here. Here's AD. And the reason I know to start with point D is because I'm looking at what point the 2 segments have in common. Because remember, wherever your 2 segments, we called it lines before, but wherever 2 segments intersect, they will always intersect at a point. So that's going to be point D. Name the intersection, I'm on part E, name the intersection of FB and BC. So I'm looking at that point they have in common. That's going to be their point of intersection. Here's FB and here's BC. So I'm just going to put B for point B. Uh-oh, look here on part F. It says name the intersection of planes ABE and BFC. Whoa, okay. I'm going to have to do some coloring here. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to get my highlighter. And I'm going to highlight these planes because it'll make it easier to ignore all the other planes. ABE, this is going to be ABE right here because you're looking for the plane that includes those 3 points. So I have A right there, there's B, and here's E. So that's how I knew it was that plane. And then BFC, let me change the color of my highlighter. I'm going to change it to this blue, and BFC. So here's BFC. So it's going to be this plane in the back. Okay, so it wants to know the name of that intersection. And remember, wherever 2 planes intersect, it's always a line. So looky right there. I just highlighted it in red so we'd be able to see it really clear. So the intersection of those 2 planes is going to be line BF, or you could name it FB. Now don't forget, when you're doing this naming, don't forget the symbols. You got to have that little line on top of the letters to let me know that it's definitely a line. Okay, now for this next one, I probably need to clear out some things so that way I'll be able to highlight and we'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, let me go to my highlighter. Name the intersection of planes A, H, and D. So here's A, here's H, and here's D. So it's going to be the front of the cube. Okay, now let me go over here. I'm going to change my ink color back to yellow, and BCA. So here's B, here's C, and here's A. So this one's going to be the bottom of the cube. So, ew, even highlighting's not working too well, but looky here. I can tell where they intersect just visually, but if I was going to highlight that line, right there it is. That's the line where those two planes intersect. And since that one can be kind of hard to see, let me do this. This right here, and I'm not the best at drawing things like this. Ooh. When you start getting three-dimensional, it gets a little hard. Okay, so there's plane. Okay, let me decide how I'm doing this. And let me draw this. Okay, so now you can see those planes intersecting right there. And let me see. There, point A is still right there. There's point D. Oh, this is point C back here. And then way back here, we can't see it, but that's going to be point B. So there's your two planes intersecting. And if you wanted to help you visualize what's going on here, let me draw. Okay, there's those two planes intersecting. I don't know if my drawing did too much better, but hopefully it helped you see how they are intersecting. So their line of intersection is going to be AD, and there again you could name it DA, but what you have to be sure is to put that line symbol above the letters. Okay, now we're just going to do a quick summary of what we talked about here. We talked about a point as a location in space with no length, width, or depth. A line is a collection of points arranged in a straight path. A line extends forever in both directions. A plane is a flat surface with infinite length and width but no thickness. A ray is a part of a line. It has one endpoint and extends forever in one direction. And an angle is formed by two rays that do not lie on the same plane or the same line but have the same endpoint. Just want to thank you for listening to this lesson on geometric terms and concepts, and don't forget to contact me if you have any challenges with learning the concepts in this lesson.